Followed by a brief moment of silence. Alyssa, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. I always like that look in people's eyes when I call on them.
You should be used to it by now. You've been here enough times that it's so random.
Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. I'll note that we are being live streamed right now. It's being broadcast out to our YouTube channel for public consumption. We're also being recorded internally for our purposes in compiling the minutes, and for that reason, if anybody has any business before the board, I'd ask if they come up and speak into that microphone to make sure that we pick it up internally. Row officer reports and comments. Melissa, anything from the treasurer's office above and beyond what's already on the agenda?
No.
All right, Tracy, anything from the court? I'm not, you could really row office, but I'll count you as part of the courts.
No.
Thank you. Public comments. Any member of the public wishing to make comment? and if there are any members out there watching via YouTube, as I always say, if you want to make comment but don't want to or are unable to come into the courthouse to attend this meeting, you can submit your comments at mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. That's mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. Please do the subject line public comment. Before we really get rolling here, we have a resolution that we'll be voting on later to change the employee handbook. It's not in the agenda, but we consulted with our solicitor to make sure that we're on legal ground with changes to sunshine law to make sure that we'd be legal in amending the agenda to put in there. And Jason, if you'd be willing to explain what the hell we have going on here.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
I'm recommending an amendment to the current agenda to allow a resolution that would amend our current Lawrence County employees policy handbook, specifically the policy involving the county's COVID-19 policy for employees. This amendment would be de minimis in nature. It would fulfill the requirements of the new sunshine law changes. It's de minimis in nature. It does not involve any contractual relationship, and there's no money being spent. This is simply changing our COVID policy to reflect the changes in the CDC guidelines.
Any questions or comments from the board? And again, we'll be voting on that later today.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your being here, and you did this with a good amount of expediency. Commissioner Boyd is going to note later in the meeting, I guess I'm going to note it now, but we don't have a public meeting next week, so we're not meeting for another 2 weeks, and time is of the essence on this matter, but we're very cognizant of the new amendments that have been made to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, but the solicitor was kind enough to review those amendments, and his recommendation, I believe, as you heard him say, falls in line with allowing us to do what we need to do this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, Jason, if you're going to take off.
Thank you.
Yes.
And thanks for coming down.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Moving on to fiscal and contractual, or no advertising. Skip that. We have one warrant register from September 9th, 2021. I'll give my colleagues a minute to check that over and then take a motion to accept and file the register.
So moved.
Be with you in just a second.
He's a slow reader.
Yeah, usually by now I've looked at it. I'll second the motion.
I think a motion is second. Is there any further discussion? There's one question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, approval of the meeting minutes for Tuesday, September 7. Again, I give my colleagues a minute to check those out and take a motion to approve the minutes or make any necessary expedient changes.
So moved.
Second. Your motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have 2 written communications today. Maybe more if I flip the page. Nope, just 2. One is from Pennsylvania American Water relating to a GP11 maintenance testing, repair, rehab, or replacement of water obstructions and encroachments permit for a stream crossing repair at Shenango River at West Washington Street. And I'll just read the first part of this. As per the, dear County Commissioners, as per the requirements of general permit registration letters to inform you of the application for coverage of GP11 maintenance testing, repair, rehabilitation, and replacement of water obstruction and encroachments with Pennsylvania DEP. This project includes the repair of an 8-inch cast iron water main within the Shenango River near the intersection of West Washington Street and the Columbus Interbelt.
I think he stole your signature.
He had one more little flair
What
to
do
it.
you think, Loretta?
I have to look at that
It's not
again.
like Morgan's.
Mhm.
That tells you
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben signed a lot of documents.
Copycat.
Yeah, every once in a while when I'm going to pay for the check at a restaurant, I'll actually put a smiley face where the signature line is. Our second is from National Fuel Supply Corporation. Notice reads, Dear County Commissioners, this municipal notice on the requirements of Act 14 is to inform you that National Fuel Gas Distribution Corporation is applying for DEP General Permit 11 for the crossing of the stream for access on an existing gas pipeline right away. Notification also serves to inform you that NFG will be obtaining any and all the required permits for stream and wetland encroachments for the planned development as required by PADEP under Pennsylvania Code Title 25, Environmental Protection, Chapter 105, Dam Safety and Water Management. And this project is taking place in Perry Township, across an unnamed tributary to Slippery Rock. 2 anodes, I don't know what those are, will be installed within the floodway. Total temporary impacts are approximately 359 square feet. As I always try to note, the commissioners have no approval authority over these permits. We're just required under state law to be informed of different permit applications by entities who are applying for these permits. At the end of the day, in both of these cases, DEP has final authority. Any questions, comments on the written communications?
No, sir.
I'll take a motion to accept and file.
So moved.
Second.
Good motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff reports. Do we have any member of staff here that's anything? I guess we don't really have, that's Vanessa. You have anything?
Vanessa.
All right, we're in good, Joe? Good shape. Dan, you have the floor first for commissioner reports and comments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple items. The document that we're going to be acting on later, the solicitor referenced, I'm assuming that our intent will be at the conclusion of the meeting, if it hasn't been done so already, but we probably didn't have time. We should probably post this on the website, I would imagine, along with everything else that we post.
Sure, we can do it.
Thank you. Couple things. I want to offer on behalf of the board our sympathy to Jan Marshall, who is the township secretary in Perry Township. Her husband, Leland, passed away last week. And, nice gentleman. And Jan does a lot for not only Perry Township, but she's very active in the Township Officials Association here in the county. So our sympathy to her. Secondly, I had the privilege on Saturday of participating in a brief ceremony in recognition and remembrance of 9/11. This was held at Westminster College in New Wilmington. And I shared the podium with 2 gentlemen for whom I have a great deal of respect. Reverend Moore, who is the dean of the chapel or the lead minister at Westminster, and a retired college professor, Darwin Huey. I was I wasn't sure if, bless you, I was not aware of any other ceremonies throughout the county. I wondered if any of your, Debbie, did you know of any other?
I had not heard of any.
Okay, and the one at Westminster was basically more campus oriented. I don't know that they made a lot of knowledge known about it, but I do want to make note of the fact that there was at least one ceremony held, so I'm glad of that. And then finally, I guess I'm getting into this habit now of asking a trivia question. So if you'll indulge me, but the winner will get $2. And since we've talked already this morning about Perry Township a couple times, the question involves the village of Wurtemberg. Now, Wurtemberg is unique because 488 State Route 488 runs through it, the Elwood Portersville Road. And if you're coming from Elport, you go into Perry Township, you cross the Slippery Rock Creek, you go into Wayne Township for a brief period of time. Then you cross the Slippery Rock Creek again, and you're back in Perry Township. Now, in the village of Wurtemberg, there are 2 churches. One is the Wurtemberg Presbyterian Church, the other is the Wurtemberg Methodist Church. The question is, are both churches located in Perry Township? Are they both located in Wayne Township, or is one in one and one in the other?
One in one and one in the other.
Sorry, Loretta.
Jeez.
Now it's a little process of elimination.
I'm gonna say Wayne Township.
You win the $2 bill.
Dang.
Morgan,
They,
you're getting rid.
that's right. This is
So
the second.
Perry starts. How far?
Well, when you
I see that sign. I just.
you know where the Perry School is,
Right.
Perry Elementary. You start in
Yes.
Perry Township,
Right.
you go a little further, and you cross the Slippery Rock Creek.
Right,
Then you're in
then Wayne.
Wayne. Now, the Presbyterian Church, you'd have to make a quick left on the
And it's on the
Wurtemberg
hill.
Road, and
Yes.
it's just slightly up the
Mhm.
hill. That's the Presbyterian Church.
Yes,
If you stay on 488, right at the bridge when you cross back into Perry Township on the left is the
other is
Wurtemberg
another church.
Methodist Church. So they are both in Wayne Township.
There's another church there.
It's a monastery,
Transfiguration.
Monastery of the
Transfiguration. And that's also in Wayne Township.
Darn, I thought it,
Well, it's easy to get confused
yeah, I
down there.
thought it was sooner than that. That's why I said one of each.
So
Darn.
we'll think.
Shame on me, I should have known.
Well, last week's question was about Elwood City, so 2 weeks from now, I gotta think of something up north. Anyway, thank you.
I'll have to do my homework then.
Congratulations.
I missed that shot. I'll never get the northern one.
You might.
I'll have to do some.
Well, if I'm getting the southern ones,
I
figure,
know, that was,
Well, I could do a Mahoning Town one. That would
Wow,
give you
that-
an advantage, wouldn't it?
that would be good. That would be very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, thank you. Couple things today. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Dan. We attended a banquet in Dan's honor. When was that? Was that last Thursday? It was last Thursday.
Yes.
Dan was named Historical Society, I want to say that's equivalent to Person of the Year award for his contributions to the Historical Society and his dedication to the preservation of history in Lawrence County. And he gave a phenomenal presentation on a series of 6 murders. It was 6, right?
Yes.
6 murders that occurred back in the 1930s, as well as the district attorney from back then and some of the nuances of those cases. Prepared a great PowerPoint for it. And
The Felina family. Not me.
oh, we were laughing. I remember Loretta and I were talking to each other and we go, holy, my God, Dan, that's a beautiful
He must have
PowerPoint.
been working with Eric, you know?
No, Stephanie Felina and her daughters, they get the credit.
But just congratulations to you, Dan. Well deserved.
Thank you for being there. I appreciate your work. And Joe, thank you.
Absolutely. Second thing I want to mention, and I thought this was interesting, is I pulled, there's a lot of talk right now about the labor shortages right now taking place, both in Lawrence County and around the nation. And so I pulled our unemployment rates from January of 2020, April of 2020, which was the peak of COVID-19, from an unemployment perspective, and July of 2021. I found this to be interesting. The unemployment rate before COVID-19, January of 2020, was 7.2%. The unemployment rate in peak COVID-19 was 18.4%. And the current unemployment rate, and by current I mean July of 2021, just because those are the most current numbers that I had when I pulled that data, was 7.6%. And so to that end, Lawrence County's labor force is almost fully recovered from the negative effects of COVID-19. We're down, just based on pure unemployment rate, we're down 157 workers versus, if you'll indulge me for a second, I'll pull it up. I can't pull it up. Versus a lot more in peak COVID, which was again in April of 2020. Now it'll be a while before some additional statistics come out as to why there are current labor shortages ongoing in Lawrence County. It could be a variety of different reasons. It could be a drop in the labor force participation rate. That's a very real possibility. In other words, the unemployment rate is currently calculated, or our labor force is currently calculated. It's combined people who are employed and people who are considered unemployed. But whenever somebody is classified as unemployed, that means that they are both without a job and seeking a job. If they are without a job and not seeking a job, they are not counted as part of the labor force for the purposes of computing unemployment. It also could very well mean that employees who were laid off from more visible establishments, restaurants, retail, shops, et cetera, during the course of the pandemic, they found other jobs. And since there's only a finite amount of labor in our economy, that's causing shortages now in restaurants, retail establishments, and other areas. That's a very real possibility. The other possibility is maybe they found other jobs from a global perspective. I mean, we learned throughout the course of COVID-19 that it's possible, very possible to telework. You can live in Lawrence County and show up to a meeting in Shanghai without issue.
Right.
So time will tell. I'm looking forward to looking at aggregate income tax returns, because that'll tell you if people are making more or less money in the aggregate after COVID-19, which again gives credence to the theory that workers found higher paying jobs in other areas. It'll be interesting to see labor force participation rate figures come out over the course of the next couple of months. But from a labor analysis, a labor economics standpoint, it's a fascinating time to be digging into data. And I'll note that this specific data as it relates to unemployment was provided by the Federal Reserve. But I just found that to be interesting. And the last thing I'll mention, and Dan's slipping this note, so I'll give Dan credit here for bringing it to my attention. But as of yesterday was the final day for candidates to file, or more accurately, parties to nominate individuals to file for individuals to run for special elections. And in our county controller's race, only one party submitted a nominee to run in that special election. That's the Republican Party, and the nomination of David Prestapine. And so we're looking forward to Dave at this point carrying forward in the election. He still actually has to get formally elected, but we're certainly looking forward to serving with him going into the future.
And I don't mean to muddy the waters, and I'll ask a question I truly don't know the answer to. Is there still time for someone to secure petition signatures to file as an independent? And I don't know the answer to that. Too bad Ed's not with us, but I'm wondering that may not be the case, because the ballots need to be printed here pretty shortly.
I'm thinking, this is my presumption, it's based on fact, but I'm thinking in line with your thoughts insofar as the reason the deadline was when it was, was to allow us time to prepare and print the ballots.
Right.
So to that end, my expectation would be, with that following through that logic, as you said, this is it.
Yeah, because the clock is sure ticking.
Right.
I'll check with Tim or Susan. Thank you.
The other races I'll note, Newcastle School Board, the nominees were Mike Frabata from the Republican Party and Marco Belisco from the Democratic Party. I'm unaware, and if either one of my colleagues or anybody in the room knows, if there were any nominations. I know Pulaski Township, there was a supervisor race where the parties were required to provide nominations.
I'm not aware.
Yeah.
Same with Wilmington Township.
Yes, yeah. And I want to say the Republican Party did nominate
Mr. Zahner?
I
could be wrong. I could be wrong, but Zahner? But I could be wrong.
I think I could be wrong there too. I know I believe they appointed him as the
Yeah,
township
yeah.
until the special election
That's right.
hit.
Well, and again, I'll muddy the waters a little bit. Recently, and Nick, you might be able to help us, one of the borough council members in Elwood City Borough stepped aside. And I don't know if that gave the two political parties enough time.
They appointed somebody else for 3 months yesterday.
Oh, that's right, because her term was going to expire at the end of the year anyway. That's right, that's right. Thank you. Oh, do you know who they appointed?
David Obiel.
David Obiel, not
Dave Obiel. Yeah.
Brad is on the ballot in the
Yes.
fall. And
I wonder how Brad and David are related.
Oh, sorry, it is Brad.
Oh, it's Brad Oviel. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's good to know. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
No.
Brad's a good fellow. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
That's mercifully all I have for today. Loretta, we'll turn the floor over to
I
you.
have nothing.
There we go.
Other than to congratulate Dan again
Thank you.
and the interesting information that Morgan you provided. And I have nothing because I lost and here.
You'll get them next week
That's it.
or 2 weeks. All right, we only have a couple resolutions on deck today, in addition to the amendment that we have to make. But first on deck, we have Melissa with the Treasurer's Office. If you want to approach the bench, we got a resolution for discussion and possible approval to establish due dates for the collection of 2022 county real estate taxes. You have the floor. What do we have going on?
Just the treasurer would like to establish the due dates for 2022 for the county
Bless you.
real estate tax statements. It also includes the interim, spring and fall interim statements as well. So, and then the sooner we have these approved with the resolution, the sooner we can start doing it now.
No questions?
I do. Please bear with me. Thank you for being here. Just for this year, for 2021, may I clarify, and maybe you confirm this. In fact, Vanessa and I were talking about this the other day. The courthouse this year is closed on New Year's Eve day, which is a Friday, the 31st, because the holiday falls on a Saturday.
Correct.
So I do want to note that for people who do wish to pay taxes at the end of the calendar year, the latest they can do that will be the 30th of December. Am I right?
Well, we also have the drop-off box. They can mail them in, we'll accept postmark.
Yes, okay.
And normally, we will still, that following business day that we are open, we will continue to collect because we're still processing mail.
And that would be the 3rd of January of 2022. Which is a Monday.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I know I got my calendar here. But I do want to note for people who would want to come in physically to pay the tax at your counter.
Yeah.
We will not be open on Friday, December 31. But I appreciate your clarifying that there are those other means by which they can
Yeah,
pay.
we have the lock drop-off box that's located right before the entrance, to the left of the entrance of the courthouse, or you do accept postmark December 31st if you can't make it.
Thank you.
And they can pay online, right?
And they can pay online as well. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
No, I think that's pretty much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll make this resolution 2021-219. And I will take, unless there's any further discussion, I will take a motion to approve resolution 2021-219.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, we have Tracy with Domestic Relations for resolution discussion and possible approval to enter into an agreement with Ruska Enterprises. Tracy, what do we have going on today? How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. So-
This is a maintenance agreement for 2 of our Cardex retrievers that house our docket files. We've actually had this contract with them for many years, and it did increase $153
We'll have to put that into the budget.
for the first time since 2015.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So,
No.
and they do all the maintenance on those machines.
Questions, comments? make this resolution 2021-220.
220.
I probably should have been paying more attention to the last
Okay.
one. And I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
No motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Beth, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion
Thank
carries.
you. Quick, easy, painless. Up next, we have resolution for discussion, possible to enter a change order recommended by Taylor Engineering for the Stavish Bike Trail Project. I'm just gonna read the thing. Whereas the following changes are hereby made to the contract documents on the existing bridge, the 2x6 timber bridge rails were bolted with steel plates which were welded to steel railing posts. Some of the existing plates contain 2 holes to bolt timber rails, and some had 4 holes. It was determined that in the field, that each connection plate should be made to have 4 holes to bolt timber rails to. This decision was made to better secure the timber rails to the steel connection plates. The connector took all of the posts to his shop and drilled the plates as required, so that each connection plate had 4 holes. The contractor also had to purchase additional galvanizing bolts, washers, and nuts to place additional holes which are now present. That in turn increased the cost of the bridge replacement by $695 for a total contractual amount of $40,445. So to that order, in that effect, this is a resolution for a change order number 1 with Jet Excavating Co. for an increase of $695 to be approved for the 2021 Stavish Bike Trail Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Questions, comments on the change order?
Am I correct that the funds utilized for this are Marcellus dollars?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
We'll make that resolution 2021-221.
By the way, speaking of the Stavish Bike Trail, I was at a meeting in Pittsburgh about a week ago, last week. And about a year ago, I had taken down a stack of our tourist promotion agency brochures. And included in those brochures are a page devoted to the Stavish Bike Trail. And I had one of the gentlemen who lives in Pittsburgh say, "Wow, am I glad you gave me that brochure, because I'm now coming up and riding on the Stavish Bike Trail."
Nice.
And I said, "Well, good, I hope you're spending your money while you're up here too." But I thought I'd mention that since we were talking about the trail, which of course the county owns and maintains up to the state line. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-221.
So moved.
I apologize. The only reason I'm hesitating that there was further language on the back, but yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, Beth, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Last one, resolution 20, or this is fund transfer. It's moving out of both of them are voluntary accounts, $1,000 for materials and supplies for land and building rent. And the reason for this is our land and building rental expenses are just a little bit higher than anticipated to carry out the year. But voluntary is one of our 2 departments, which incurs the most expense for land and building rental. Second is the register and recorder's office. And so our anticipation this year was that we'd be able to shred more documents and digitize more documents than we have. That hasn't taken place to the effect that we thought it would, but we're still way down relative to last year in terms of what we're paying out of that account.
Would this be, I assume, is it the wampum mine?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'll just take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second for discussion. Hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. This next one, like we mentioned earlier, this is de minimis action that we're taking to amend our COVID policy. All this is doing is it's updating it to the most recent CDC guidelines, just to ensure that our HR office has very clear direction on how to treat instances of COVID exposure, whether it be an employee or the child of an employee out of Lawrence County. Questions, comments on this?
I just think it's something that we will, I'm sure, periodically have to adjust as time goes on. With the kids being back in school, every school district is handling things differently, and we have to be aware that we do have, parents that work within our buildings with the over 400 employees that we have. So we have to, I say we have to reduce the stress level as much as we can and be as understanding as we can and as we have to be to get through the next couple of months or into next year till we get to that point that it's not affecting the schools and or the places of employment as much as it is. So step in the right direction.
And as part of our discussion leading up to this, Loretta reminded me of the fact, because I said, well, I don't remember having this issue last September when school returned, but I was reminded that by and large, everything back then was virtual as far as how students were being taught. And so we're faced with some new challenges now as it relates to the schools. And appreciate the solicitor's guidance on this. I know our HR director's been getting a lot of calls.
Yes.
And I think by taking the action we're taking today, this will help both Karen King and Cindy Scaramazza in the Human Resources Department. So thank you both.
We'll make this resolution 2021-222. I'll take a motion to amend the agenda to allow for voting on resolution 2021-222.
So moved.
Second.
Good motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-222.
So moved.
Second.
Good motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no ordinances on the table for introduction for final action. The next commissioners meeting will not be held on Tuesday, September 21. It'll be held on the following Tuesday. Rationale being that Commissioner Vogler will be at a meeting of the
PCOMP, yes,
Okay.
Workers' Compensation Trust Fund Board, but PCOMP's short.
I always get the two. I know what the two are, but I can never remember which one you serve as chair on. And where's that at? Bedford?
Monroe County.
Monroe County. And Loretta will be at the CCAP headquarters in Harrisburg,
Yes.
attending to the business of the finances. There is the new treasurer. That means Joe and I will be holding down the fort, so don't be surprised if there's not a building here when you get back. There will be a prison board meeting on Wednesday, September 15th, 2021 at noon.
Yes.
Anything I'm missing? That's it. Any additional public comments? Seeing none, and I learned this the other day. Because I was curious about this. I was reading through Robert's rules. Not reading through Robert's rules, I went to a specific section. And if we get to the end of the agenda and there are no additional business to be brought up before the board, I'm allowed to just adjourn the meeting. It doesn't take a motion. The only time it takes a motion in a second is if you aren't done with the agenda. And so I just found that to be an interesting. So is there any additional business?
Nope.
All right, then I'll adjourn the meeting.
There we go. Saves us a little time.
Yeah, 10 seconds or so. Very good.
Debbie, I've got the packet if you'd like it.